Okay, buckle up folks, because today we are diving into one of the craziest and honestly kinda sketchiest stories of the century. We are talking about the Iraq War. Yeah, that war. The one you learned about in school that was supposedly all about weapons of mass destruction and fighting terrorism. Well, what if I told you that none of that was true? What if it was all about oil, gold, and cold hard cash? Now, if you're already shaking your head saying, "No way man, that's some wild conspiracy stuff," just hold on a second and let me break this down, because trust me, it's a wild ride. So let's rewind a bit. It is 2003. The US government gets on TV and tells everybody, hey, Iraq has these big scary weapons of mass destruction. You remember those, right? The weapons we heard so much about, but strangely never saw. They also said Saddam Hussein, Iraq's leader, was buddies with the guys behind 9/11. The big scary terrorist event everyone remembers clear as day. And then they told us Saddam was just a really mean guy. I mean, like super villain level mean, and he had to go. So people bought it, and why wouldn't they? The news repeated it every day, like the chorus of a catchy pop song stuck in your head. Fear was everywhere. Everyone was freaking out, like when the Wi-Fi cuts out during a big Netflix finale, but way worse. So in March 2003, America and its allies tossed into Iraq, ready to save the world from these mysterious weapons and bring peace. Sounds heroic, right? Just one teeny problem. None of it was true. After all the explosions and chaos settled, guess what they found? Yeah, you guessed it. Nothing. Zip. Zilts. Nada. No weapons. No proof of links to 9/11. Even the US government had to eventually admit, oops, our bad. Turns out, there were no weapons. Sorry about blowing up your country. Now, here's where things start getting real interesting. If the war wasn't about those weapons or terrorism, what was really going on? Well, like any good detective story, you gotta follow the money. See? Way before the bombs started falling, Saddam made one little decision that set America into full panic mode. For decades, oil, the stuff every country desperately needs, was traded exclusively in US dollars. This clever system was called the petrodollar, and it made America richer than Elon Musk after a good tweet storm. Basically, every country had to buy dollars to buy oil, and the United States, well, they could print as many dollars as they wanted. It was basically monopoly money, but real. But Saddam, being the rebel he was, decided in 2000s to stop selling oil in dollars and switch to euros instead. Now, euros were like the new kid at school, popular enough to make you nervous, but not yet taking your seat at lunch. Saddam's move was like flipping America's lunch tray in front of the whole cafeteria. If other countries saw Saddam's rebellion and followed the suit, America's comfy position controlling the global economy would vanish faster than your paycheck after payday. You might think, big deal, so he changed currency. Who cares? But this was huge. The United States dollar isn't just a fancy green paper, it's the world reserve currency. Every country needs it. Imagine the panic if people suddenly stopped needing dollars. It would be like finding out your precious Pokemon card from childhood were actually worthless fakes. Devastating. So America couldn't let this happen. They had to make sure nobody else got any funny ideas. And Saddam? Well, he was officially on the gotta go list. But wait, there is more. Saddam wasn't just sitting on barrels of oil, he also had mountains of shiny gold bars. We're talking over 90 tons of gold, plus billions in cash and foreign assets. Imagine Scrooge McDuck's vault but in real life. This wasn't just spare change, it was a serious pirate treasure. Conveniently, after the US invasion, all this treasure just vanished in thin air. Poof! Gone. It's like leaving your lunch unattended at school, turn your back for a second, and suddenly it's nowhere to be found. Now remember 9/11? Terrible tragedy, and rightfully, everybody was terrified. But it became the perfect excuse. Even though Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, the US government kept subtly linking Saddam and terrorism. The media happily played along, like your friend who keeps repeating rumors about your crush until you start believing them yourself. By the time 2003 rolled around, everybody was on board. Congress, the media, the public, everybody was shouting, "Yeah, let's do this, let's free Iraq." And just like that, America had the green light to invade. But here is the big question: who really won the Iraq war? Spoiler alert, it wasn't the Iraqi people, it wasn't the brave American soldiers either, it wasn't certainly democracy. Nope. The winners were big oil companies, defense contractors, and people holding bags of cash behind the scenes. Oil companies swooped in and took control of Iraq's vast oil reserves. Defense contractors? Oh, they loved it. They made bank off blowing things up. They made even more, pretending to rebuild every single thing they had just destroyed. It was like getting paid twice, once for setting your house on fire, then again for building you a slightly worse house afterward. And the US dollar? It stayed right on top, maintaining America's grip on global financial dominance. Meanwhile, Iraq was left a mess. Chaos, instability, and suffering for millions, all based on one single lie. Billions vanished into thin air like socks in a dryer, and Iraq's gold and oil got snatched faster than snacks at a party. In the end, what seemed like a noble cause was really a money-making machine powered by fear and deception. It's a cautionary tale, one of power, greed and deception, hidden behind patriotism and heroics. And as entertaining as conspiracy theories can be, this one sadly turned out to be more fact than fiction. So next time someone tells you a big flashy story about saving the world, maybe take a closer look, because sometimes things just aren't what they seem. But here's a little side note that ties into the same saga. It's not like Saddam was some adorable puppy who never did anything questionable. Of course not. The man definitely had his own set of issues, but the narrative pushed to the public was something else entirely. People often forget there is a difference between genuinely protecting humanity from a real threat and packaging a strategic financial move as moral heroism. It's kind of like claiming you're robbing a bank just to feed the hungry, but somehow you keep most of the cash for yourself. Even after the invasion, the story got weirder. Journalists on the ground reported mysterious convoys hauling away massive amounts of Iraqi currency, gold bars, and who knows what else. Some folks joked that you'd stumble upon dusty vaults full of treasure, guarded by exactly 0 people, like a scene from a badly written action movie, except this was real life, and the treasure conveniently found new rich filthy owners. Meanwhile, back home, people were left scratching their heads, asking, wait, where are those weapons we heard so much about? And as more time passed, the reasons fell apart. Government officials began admitting their info might have been off. Media pundits moved on to the headline, and the general public was too busy dealing with everyday life to demand deeper answers. But the ramifications of that invasion still linger to this day. The ripple effects can be seen in global politics, ongoing conflicts, and an entire region destabilized. And let's not forget the financial markets that seemed to hum along with the presence of newly secured oil fields and the reaffirmation that the dollar's position as global top dog was, for now, safe. Honestly, it was a complete masterclass in how to covertly reroute massive amounts of wealth under the banner of national security. Truly, stay safe out there. Peace out.